Take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear is a story that shocked thousands of people online. Imagine this: your sister is about to have one of the biggest days of her entire life. Her wedding. Months of planning, endless decisions, tears, money, and stress have all built up to this single day. The flowers are ready, the venue is decorated, the dress is waiting, and the guests are already buzzing with excitement. But then, just hours before she walks down the aisle, she gets a message from you, her younger sister. You won't be there, not because of an accident, not because of a real illness, but because you've chosen something else entirely. And worse, you don't even tell her the truth. Instead, you lie. This is the story of Layla, a 24-year-old woman who had to make a choice between her sister's wedding and a once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity. And the way she handled it has divided the internet. Some people call her selfish, others say she made the right call. But either way, her decision has left a mark she can't erase. So, let's rewind. Layla and her sister Miriam are 12 years apart. Miriam is 36, mature, established, and at that point finally settling down after years of dating. Layla, on the other hand, is just starting her adult life, still carving her path. They never had that typical sister bond growing up. By the time Layla was in high school, Miriam had already moved out, living her own life in another city. For years, they barely spoke. It wasn't until recently, after a few long phone calls over the summer, that they tried reconnecting. And even then, their relationship was more polite than close. Now here's where things get complicated. Just one day before Miriam's wedding, Layla got an unexpected call. A company she had been dreaming of working for, let's call it Horizon Global, offered her an interview. Not just any interview, but one that could completely change her future. There was only one problem. The interview was scheduled in another state, and the timing was brutal. It was on the very same day as Miriam's wedding. Layla panicked. She begged the company to reschedule, explaining that her sister was getting married. But the answer was firm. "We're sorry, but this position is highly competitive. If you can't make it, we'll have to move forward with other candidates." So now she was faced with an impossible choice: attend her sister's once-in-a-lifetime wedding, or attend her own once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity. And Layla knew what she was going to choose. But here's the twist: she didn't tell her sister the truth. Instead, she sent a message saying she had suddenly developed a fever and tested positive for COVID. She apologized, said she felt awful about missing the wedding, and promised she would be there in spirit. Miriam was upset, of course, but she believed her. After all, illness is illness. You can't control that. She told Layla to rest and hoped she'd get better soon. But deep down, Layla knew she had just told a lie that could one day blow up in her face. Why lie? According to Layla, it was simple. She didn't want to jinx her chances with Horizon Global. She didn't want her sister or anyone else at the wedding to know she was skipping for a job interview. Because what if she told everyone and then she didn't get the job? What if people whispered about her behind her back, calling her irresponsible or selfish? She wanted to avoid all of that negativity, so she kept the truth hidden, except from one person: her aunt. The night before, she confessed everything to her aunt, hoping for some understanding. But instead, her aunt told her straight to her face, "You're being a bad person. You're lying to your sister, and now you're dragging me into the lie too. Do you realize how wrong this is?" Layla shrugged it off, convincing herself that it was just a harmless lie. In her mind, the interview was her personal business and no one else needed to know. Still, as she packed her bag, boarded the flight, and prepared for the interview, a knot of guilt twisted in her stomach. She tried to ignore it. After all, wasn't she doing the right thing for her own future? The morning of the wedding, Miriam was probably getting her hair done, slipping into her white gown, surrounded by laughter and excitement. Meanwhile, Layla was sitting in a corporate office across the country, nervously rehearsing answers to interview questions. Two sisters, two completely different worlds, on the exact same day. When Layla later shared this entire story on Reddit's Am I the A Dance forum, the responses exploded. Some people sympathized, saying, if she gets the job, then maybe it was worth it. But the majority were furious. They called her selfish, heartless, and cruel. They pointed out that weddings don't come around twice, but jobs can. They also slammed her for lying, for making her aunt complicit, and for leaving her sister alone on such a meaningful day. One of the top comments read, "It absolutely wasn't worth skipping a once-in-a-lifetime family wedding. I can't imagine missing a sibling's wedding for anything." Another commenter turned their attention to Horizon Global, saying, "If a company can't respect your family wedding enough to reschedule, is that really the kind of place you want to work for?" But Layla wasn't swayed. In her post, she insisted that yes, lying was technically wrong, but in her eyes, it was still a harmless lie. And she made it clear, she didn't regret choosing the interview over the wedding. Still, she didn't answer the one question everyone wanted to know. Did she get the job? That's the cliffhanger she left the internet with. And now I want to ask you, what would you have done in her place? Would you risk your career for family, or risk your family bond for your career? Before we continue deeper into this story, where things take even more dramatic turns, I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this story, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2. Because trust me, things are just getting started. Layla thought she had it all figured out. She convinced herself that skipping Miriam's wedding was necessary, and that telling a little lie wouldn't hurt anyone. But as we all know, lies have a way of unraveling, especially when family is involved. The morning after Miriam's wedding, Layla's phone buzzed with messages. Photos, videos, voice notes, relatives were flooding her inbox with updates about the ceremony. She saw her sister glowing in her wedding gown, their parents smiling with pride, cousins dancing on the floor. Everyone looked so happy. Everyone, except her. Layla stared at those pictures with a lump in her throat. She told herself, it's fine. I did the right thing. My future comes first. But then another thought crept in. What if Miriam never forgives me? Meanwhile, Miriam was also thinking about her. Even though she was upset about Layla's sudden illness, part of her felt sympathy. She had told her new husband, Amir, "It's such a shame Layla couldn't be here. I know she must be devastated to miss this." Miriam had no idea that her younger sister was sitting in a sleek office building, wearing a blazer, nervously clutching her resume. The interview itself was intense. The panel of 3 executives grilled Layla with difficult questions. She felt her palms sweating as she tried to stay composed. Every answer mattered. This was her chance to step out of the shadow of her family and finally prove herself. But even as she spoke, her mind betrayed her. Images of Miriam walking down the aisle played in her head. She wondered who had walked her down the aisle, probably their father with tears in his eyes. She wondered who had given the maid of honor speech, since she was supposed to do it. When the interview finally ended, Layla walked out of the building exhausted, drained but hopeful. She knew she had done well, or at least she thought she had. She checked her phone. Dozens of unread messages. Her aunt had texted her, "I'm covering for you, but you should really tell Miriam the truth before she finds out another way." Her chest tightened. She hated conflict, and the idea of confessing to her sister made her stomach churn. "Not yet," she whispered to herself. "I'll wait until I know if I got the job. Then maybe it'll make sense." But of course, secrets don't stay secrets for long. The very next day, Miriam's best friend posted a huge album of wedding pictures on Facebook. And in the comments, one cousin wrote, "So sad that Layla missed this. Didn't she say she was traveling for work?" That one innocent comment sent ripples through the family. People started whispering, wondering if Layla had lied. Some assumed it was a misunderstanding, others weren't so forgiving. When Miriam read the comment, her heart sank. Traveling? For work? That didn't match what Layla had told her. She had been told it was COVID. She had been told her little sister was sick and bedridden. Her first instinct was denial. Maybe it was just gossip. Maybe the cousin had it wrong. But the seed of doubt was already planted. That evening, Miriam called their aunt. "I need you to tell me the truth," she said firmly. "Was Layla really sick?" The aunt hesitated. She had promised Layla to keep her secret, but Miriam's voice was heavy with hurt. "Please, she's my sister. I deserve to know." Finally, the aunt confessed. She told Miriam everything: the job interview, the trip out of state, the lie about COVID. She even admitted how uncomfortable it had made her to cover up the story. Miriam felt like the floor had been pulled out from under her. The one person she had trusted to be by her side, the one who was supposed to stand next to her during the most important day of her life, had lied. Tears burned her eyes. "She didn't even give me the respect of telling me the truth," Miriam whispered. "She just abandoned me and made me feel sorry for her." Her aunt tried to comfort her, saying, "She's young." She panicked. Maybe she thought she was doing the right thing. But Miriam wasn't buying it. The damage was already done. For the next few days, Layla kept texting Miriam simple messages like, "Hope you had the best day ever," and "Can't wait to see the photos." But Miriam stopped replying. The silence was deafening. Finally, unable to take the tension anymore, Layla called her. The conversation was short but brutal. Miriam's voice was icy. "So, did you enjoy your job interview?" Layla froze. Who told you? Does it matter?" Miriam snapped. "The truth always comes out." Layla tried to explain herself, how important the opportunity was, how she didn't want negativity before the interview, how she thought the lie was harmless. But Miriam wasn't having it. "Harmless," she said. "You lied to my face. You let me think you were sick, when really you just didn't care enough to be there for me. Do you have any idea how that felt? Watching the empty spot where you were supposed to stand, listening to strangers toast me when you should have been the one giving the speech." Layla's throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you." But Miriam wasn't ready to forgive. "You didn't just hurt me, Layla. You betrayed me. And right now I don't even know if I can trust you again." The call ended abruptly, leaving Layla in tears. She had gotten the interview, but at what cost? Her dream job was within reach, but her relationship with her sister was hanging by a thread. And the worst part, she still didn't know if she had actually landed the job. If she didn't, then she would have lost everything for nothing. This is where the story takes an even darker turn, because while Layla was waiting for that email that could change her life, her family was tearing itself apart behind her back. Relatives were taking sides. Some said Miriam was overreacting. Others said Layla was selfish beyond repair. And then, just when Layla thought things couldn't get worse, something happened that would force her to make an even bigger decision. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. If you were Miriam, would you forgive Layla for lying, or would you cut her out completely? And if you were Layla, would you have chosen the job interview over the wedding? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're enjoying this roller coaster of a story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because in the next part, Layla finally gets the email, and her world will never be the same. For days, Layla couldn't sleep. Every night she tossed and turned, waiting for that one email from Horizon Global. Her stomach was in knots, part guilt over what she'd done to her sister, part fear of what would happen if she didn't get the job. Finally, one afternoon, her phone buzzed with a notification. The subject line read, "Interview results." Her heart stopped. Hands trembling, she tapped the message open. "Dear Layla, congratulations." She gasped, her breath caught in her throat. She had gotten it. The job of her dreams. A position she had been working toward for years. The kind of opportunity that only came once in a lifetime. At first, the joy washed over her like a wave. She laughed, she cried, She couldn't believe it. All the stress, all the worry had finally paid off. She was about to step into the life she had always wanted. But then reality hit. She had no one to share the news with, not her sister, not her parents, not even her closest family. Because the very people she would normally celebrate with were furious with her. Layla sat on her bed staring at the email. "What's the point of success if you've lost everyone you love in the process?" she whispered. Meanwhile, Miriam was still reeling from the betrayal. Her wedding had been beautiful, yes, but she couldn't stop replaying the lie in her head. The image of her sister pretending to be sick while chasing her own dream gnawed at her. Every time someone congratulated her on her marriage, she felt a bitter sting, knowing that her own flesh and blood had chosen not to stand by her side. The family was divided. Their aunt, who had been caught in the middle, was furious at Layla for dragging her into the lie. Cousins debated about who was right. Some even said Miriam was being selfish for expecting her younger sister to give up a career opportunity. Others argued that weddings are once-in-a-lifetime events, and nothing, absolutely nothing, should come before family. The tension grew so heavy that even family group chats turned hostile. Jokes turned into jabs. Conversations turned into arguments. Layla avoided the chats completely, terrified to face the storm. But she couldn't hide forever. Eventually, she had to face her sister. Layla decided to call Miriam again, this time to share the news about the job. She hoped, just maybe, that the success would make her sister proud. When Miriam answered, her tone was flat. "What do you want?" I got it," Layla stammered. "The job. Horizon Global. I'm moving out there next month." There was a long silence on the other end. Layla held her breath, waiting. Finally, Miriam said, "Good for you." Her words were sharp, cold like knives. "I hope it was worth it, because you traded me for it. You traded your family for a company that wouldn't even reschedule an interview." Layla's chest tightened. "Miriam, please. I did this for my future. I didn't mean to hurt you." "You didn't mean to," Miriam snapped. "You lied to me. You let me feel sorry for you while you were out chasing something else. Do you know what people whispered at my wedding? Do you know how humiliating it was to explain your absence over and over again? And all the while, you weren't sick. You just didn't care." Tears filled Layla's eyes. "That's not true. I do care. I love you." "Then why weren't you there?" Miriam demanded. Layla had no answer. The call ended, leaving Layla broken. She had gotten everything she thought she wanted, but it felt hollow. The victory tasted like ash. For weeks, the sisters barely spoke. Layla tried sending messages, little updates about her life, but Miriam rarely replied. Their once fragile bond seemed completely shattered. And then came the real twist. One evening, their aunt invited both of them to a family dinner, hoping to force them into the same room. Layla almost didn't go. She dreaded the confrontation, but something inside her whispered that she had to try. When she walked into the restaurant, Miriam was already there, sitting stiffly at the table. Their parents were beside her, their expressions heavy with disappointment. No one spoke at first. The silence was suffocating. Finally, the aunt cleared her throat. "We're a family," she said, "and families fight. But they also forgive. Miriam, Layla, you both need to speak your truth tonight." Miriam crossed her arms. "Fine. My truth. My sister abandoned me on the most important day of my life, and instead of respecting me enough to be honest, she lied. She made me feel like I didn't matter." Layla's voice cracked as she replied, "And my truth? I was terrified. terrified of losing the biggest chance of my life, terrified of people judging me if I failed. I thought lying would protect me, but it only destroyed us. I'm sorry, Miriam. I'm so sorry. The table fell silent again. Miriam's eyes filled with tears. Do you even understand what you took from me? You were supposed to be there when I promised forever to my husband. You were supposed to stand beside me, not abandon me for strangers in suits. Layla reached across the table, her hands shaking. I can't change what I did, but I don't want to lose you. Please, give me another chance. Miriam hesitated. Her heart was torn between anger and love. She wanted to scream, but she also wanted her sister back. And that's where I'll leave you for now. You'll see whether Miriam chooses forgiveness or whether this lie will mark the end of their relationship forever. Before we move on, tell me in the comments, do you think Miriam should forgive her sister, or is this betrayal too deep? And if you were in Layla's shoes, would you risk your family bond for a dream job? If you're caught up in this story and want to hear the rest, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because trust me, the next chapter will test the meaning of family more than ever. The restaurant was heavy with silence. Layla sat across from her sister, her eyes red from holding back tears. Miriam's hands were folded tightly in her lap, her jaw tense like she was trying not to explode. Their parents exchanged nervous glances, and the aunt sat between them, hoping this dinner would finally mend what had been broken. But healing doesn't come easy when betrayal is involved. Miriam spoke first. Her voice was calm but sharp as glass. You think saying sorry fixes this? Do you even realize what I went through on my wedding day? People kept asking me where you were, and I had to repeat the same lie over and over because you made me believe you were sick. I cried for you, Layla. I felt guilty celebrating without you. And all the while, you weren't sick at all. Layla lowered her gaze. I know, and I hate myself for it. I thought I was protecting myself, but instead, I hurt you. Her voice cracked. I just wanted a future. I didn't think I could have both. Miriam shook her head. You could have had both. You could have told me the truth. Maybe I would have been angry, maybe I would have been hurt, but at least I wouldn't have felt like a fool. The aunt leaned forward. Miriam, listen. She's admitting she was wrong. That takes courage. And Layla, you need to understand that family isn't something you trade for opportunity. It's not one or the other. Their mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. Girls, I watched both of you grow up. I've seen fights, I've seen mistakes, but this is tearing us apart. Miriam, you're my eldest. Layla, you're my youngest. If I lose one of you, I lose a part of myself. Please, find a way back to each other. The words hit both sisters like a punch to the chest. For a moment, neither could speak. Layla wiped her tears. Miriam, I swear, the job didn't mean more than you. I just panicked. I thought if I told the truth, you'd hate me forever. Miriam laughed bitterly. And lying somehow made that better. Layla whispered, no. It made everything worse. The table went quiet again. Layla wanted to reach for her sister's hand, but Miriam pulled hers away, the hurt still raw. Finally, Miriam leaned back, her eyes glistening. Here's the thing, Layla. Trust takes years to build and seconds to break. Right now, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Those words cut deeper than any argument could. Layla felt her chest tighten as though her sister had just slammed a door in her face. But then, something unexpected happened. Amir, Miriam's new husband, cleared his throat. He had been quiet the whole evening, But now he spoke. "I don't mean to interfere," he began, "but I need to say this. I know this hurts, Miriam. I know Layla let you down, but I also know what it means to lose family. I lost my brother years ago over a stupid fight, and we never reconciled. When he died, I carried that regret with me. It eats at me every day. Don't let that happen here. Don't let one mistake erase your sister from your life." The words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Everyone fell silent, processing them. Miriam's eyes filled with tears again, not of anger, but of something softer. Regret? Longing? It was hard to tell. Layla whispered, "Please, I'll do anything to make it up to you. Just don't shut me out forever." Miriam's lips trembled. She wanted to hold on to her anger. It gave her power. It kept her walls strong. But Amir's words had planted doubt. What if cutting Layla off was a mistake she'd never forgive herself for? Still, forgiveness didn't come easily. "I don't know if I can forgive you right now," Miriam admitted. "The wound is too fresh. But I also don't want to lose you completely." Layla's heart skipped. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't rejection either. It was a sliver of hope. The dinner ended without hugs or smiles, but with an unspoken agreement. But the conversation wasn't over. There was still a chance for healing, but only if both sisters fought for it. Later that night, Layla sat alone in her apartment, staring at her job offer letter. She should have been overjoyed, but all she felt was emptiness. What good was success if the people you love aren't there to share it? Meanwhile, Miriam scrolled through her wedding photos again. This time, instead of focusing on Layla's absence, she focused on the people who had been there: Amir, her friends, her parents. But still, her heart ached at the missing piece. That night, she whispered to herself, "She's still my sister, no matter what she did. She's still my sister." And that's when the real test began. Because while Miriam was wrestling with forgiveness, Layla was about to face a new challenge, one that would force her to choose, once again, between her career and her family. Before we continue, let me ask you, do you think Miriam should take the risk and forgive Layla? Or would forgiveness just open the door for more disappointment later? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the final chapter of this unbelievable story. Because trust me, the ending will surprise you. Weeks passed. Layla had officially started her new job at Horizon Global. The office was sleek, modern, buzzing with ambition. Everyone around her seemed polished, confident, and hungry for success. On paper, she was living the dream. She had everything she had worked so hard for. But inside, something was missing. Every time she sat at her desk, every time she signed her emails with her new title, her mind drifted back to her sister, to the look on Miriam's face during that dinner, filled with hurt and disappointment, to the silence that had replaced their conversations. Layla thought, what's the point of climbing this high if my own family isn't there to see me? Meanwhile, Miriam was adjusting to married life with Amir. They laughed, they planned their future. But every once in a while, the absence of her sister weighed on her heart. She tried to convince herself that she was better off without Layla's betrayal, that family isn't defined by blood alone. But then, late at night, she'd find herself scrolling through old photos of them together as kids, smiling, laughing, carefree. And her heart would ache all over again. The universe has a funny way of forcing people to face what they're running from. One evening, Layla received a call that shook her to her core. It was her mother. "Miriam was in the hospital," she said, her voice trembling. Nothing too serious, just a scare, but she fainted earlier today, and the doctors are running tests. Layla's world stopped. Her hands went cold, her breath shallow. Without a second thought, she dropped everything at work, grabbed her bag, and rushed to the airport. For the entire flight, her mind raced. What if something happened to Miriam? What if she never got the chance to fix things? What if her last memory of their relationship was that bitter, broken dinner? By the time she arrived at the hospital, it was late. Miriam was resting, Amir sitting faithfully at her bedside. Their parents were in the hallway, exhausted but relieved. Her mother hugged Layla tightly. "She's okay," she whispered. "But she needs rest. And maybe she needs you too." Layla stepped quietly into the room. Miriam's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, they just stared at each other. No words, just silence, heavy with all the things left unsaid. Finally, Miriam spoke. Her voice was weak but steady. "You came." Layla's eyes filled with tears. "Of course I came. You're my sister. Nothing, no job, no distance, means more than you." Miriam looked away, struggling with her emotions. "You hurt me, Layla, more than anyone ever has. And I don't know if I'll ever forget that." Layla stepped closer, her hands shaking. "I know. And I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I promise you this, I will spend the rest of my life proving that family comes first. I made a mistake, no, a terrible choice. But I don't want to lose you. Please, don't let this be the end of us." Tears slipped down Miriam's cheeks. For a long moment, she said nothing. The room was quiet, except for the steady beeping of the heart monitor, and then, slowly, she reached out her hand. Layla grasped it instantly, holding on as though her life depended on it. "I don't forgive you completely," Miriam whispered. "Not yet. But maybe we can start again." Those words broke the dam inside Layla. She sobbed, clutching her sister's hand. "Thank you. That's all I could ever ask for. A second chance." In that moment, something shifted. The wound wasn't healed, but it was no longer festering. It was finally on the path to recovery. Weeks later, Miriam invited Layla over for dinner. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward pauses, still scars from what had happened. But it was a beginning. And sometimes, beginnings are stronger than endings. Layla kept her promise. She worked hard at her new job, but she never again let it come before family. She traveled home often, called her sister weekly, and showed up, truly showed up, whenever she was needed. And Miriam, she softened too. She learned that forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it can create a future worth fighting for. In the end, both sisters realized something powerful. Success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. Family may disappoint you, may hurt you, but family is also where love runs deepest. So, what's the moral of this story? It's this: ambition is important, but relationships are priceless. Opportunities may come and go, but the people who love you, they are truly once in a lifetime. If you're ever forced to choose, think carefully about what really matters, because jobs can be replaced. But family, that's forever. And with that, we close this chapter. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Layla redeemed herself? Or was Miriam too quick to forgive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if you've been moved by this story, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. We've got more stories like this coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. Until next time, hold your loved ones close.